Hi everyone, welcome to RDA Tech Q&A, where we take and answer some of your questions regarding tech and look at some of the news from the past 2 weeks. I'm Nash. I do RDA. I have well over a decade's worth of tech experience. This is my producer Mike. He does
How do you do?
quite a few of the same sorts of things. Let's see. We got a bunch of news tonight. I just want to start with one really quickly because we've been following it for a while. Remember the whole Apple shenanigans with the government?
Yes. Well, which one? Is there the terrorists one and the drug dealers one in New York?
This is the terrorist one, supposedly. To briefly recap, the San Bernardino shooting terrorist-related thing that happened, the government wanted very badly to get into an iPhone. They fucked up getting into that iPhone. It was a government-owned iPhone, and they fucked up getting into that iPhone to look for information. They could not think of any other way to get into that iPhone, so they claimed. So they tried to use the All Writs Act to get Apple to look at the iPhone for them. This was never resolved because it was and this is my personal opinion, but it's pretty well supported. It was starting to look like the case would go against the government, meaning that a precedent would be set that you cannot use the All Writs Act for such things.
Well, precedent, but only for that area because it wasn't Supreme Court set.
No, it was that circuit court at that point.
Correct.
But still, that was not a precedent the government was willing to set. So they said, wait, no, we got into it. We didn't need your help. They found absolutely nothing.
Which is what we expected.
Yes.
Because, this is the important bit, it was his work iPhone.
Yeah.
It was issued to him by the San Bernardino County government. I think it's county, city, something. Some level local government. And the terrorists there had destroyed their personal phones. They made actually a relatively noticeable destruction of their personal phones and had done a thing to their work phone.
So the cries of a dormant cyber pathogen were absolute bullshit. And how much did this...
Or even any data on there that could be useful.
And how much did this cost the American taxpayer? How much?
1.3 million.
$1.3 million to pay some.
What about doing the count left there?
$1.3 million. Yeah, that's how much money the FBI paid hackers, gray hat hackers, which I want to explain this. There's a term called gray hat in the hacking community. White hats work exclusively for security companies and such. They
can work independently, but they don't go out and hack things for the purposes of getting in and doing damage or stealing stuff. They hack because they're interested in discovering security holes, and they tell people how to fix them.
Right. If they find something, they immediately tell you how to fix it. Black hats are obvious.
If they don't know, they just say, hey, there's a security hole here. This is what I think you should do.
Yeah. Black hats, obviously, are the types who just go into fucking everything and, hack the planet and all that shit. Gray hats are this term, they're sort of hacking mercenaries. We are in cyber, we are fucking in Shadowrun, I swear to God. They are soldiers of cyber fortune. Let's see how many times I can use cyber tonight. So pretty much, we paid $1.3 million to...
At least. And the reason we say at least is because the FBI director who said how much that was paid, he didn't say how much was paid. He said they were paid more than I will make the rest of my time at the FBI.
Yeah.
Which is, he said, 7 years, 4 months. And so Reuters, the news agency, looked up his pay and said, oh, he makes this much a year, times 7 years, 4 months, assuming no raises, 1.3 million.
So at least 1.3 million to find absolutely nothing.
And this is the best part. We don't know whether or not that was a one-shot payment just for that phone or if they got the actual hack itself.
Yeah.
Here's the hack. Use it as often as you like. Now, if it was here's the hack, use it as often as you like, part of me is going, well, that's not a bad deal, even though it's an older iPhone. If it's a one-shot payment just for that phone, that seems like a big deal.
And you know, if I was a hacker, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?
Yeah.
Why give over the goods when you can just get them to come on back every single fucking time? I don't know if I used the cow analogy right, but it felt right. It felt right. It felt right, Grady. Well, you were being a little fidgety kind of thing tonight.
Because they were doing the same sort of thing to All Writs Act with this drug dealer case in New York.
Yeah.
And in that case, they didn't have the PIN. They had found his Apple whatever account open and changed the password, thus screwing things up.
Yeah.
They didn't have the PIN, so they were trying the All Writs thing there as well. And they just dismissed that one too. Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because apparently someone who knew the guy whose phone it was called in and said, hey, I know the guy. His PIN is this. I don't like him anymore. Here's his PIN. I watched him punch it in over his shoulder, and it worked.
So they are obviously not exploiting all avenues possible before they go to these court cases for this shit.
Well, my guess is on that one, it was someone who knew him and was offered a deal off sentencing they had. You go, you don't happen to know dude's PIN? Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same thing I have in my luggage.
Well, I guess
I don't know. I think Apple has rules and you can't use 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well,
I'm not sure.
We've got a lot more to cover. Let's move on to the next really big story. Intel this week, and this is the most proper use of the term I've seen in recent years. It makes me happy. Intel has decimated its workforce.
Okay, which version of decimating are you using? 1 in 10 or 9 in 10?
1 in 10.
Okay.
Intel has 1 in 10 Intel employees, about 12,000 employees, are being let go. As Intel claims,
like over the next year and a half or so.
Yeah. Intel claims they are trying to restructure to where, and this entire series of articles about this drove me nuts. Intel claiming it's trying to better restructure for mobile to move itself from, because Intel dominates the PC sector. And
the PC sector's not growing.
Just wait.
Okay.
Because this one pissed me off so hard. Intel dominates the PC market, and they're laying off people who work on developing PC components, mainly CPUs, the brains of computers. They're moving to lay these people off so they can switch to working on mobile and smartphones, which they think is the future of computing. And this pisses, and all these, I saw an article that said, oh, Intel made a mistake 10 years ago. And this just, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, not designing Apple's iPhone chip?
Yeah.
It can be a mistake. They didn't think it would take off as much as it did.
But here's what drives me nuts. There's this mentality that a company must control every section of the market. Every single one. They must.
And if they don't, they're not doing well, so their stock should go down.
Right.
But they're still making money hand over fist. Yes, but they're not making as much, so their stock should go down. I've seen the same thing so many times, it's ridiculous. Non-tech, but at Carolina, where I went to university, they put in a Chinese food restaurant, which we hadn't had before for years. And it did business, massive business. But after 2 or 3 years, they pulled out. And the reason they pulled out is because they'd stopped getting more and more business. They basically leveled off. They were still had lines at the door every day for lunch and dinner, but they weren't, no growth.
And that is,
It's ridiculous.
part of why the PC market has stagnated is not that smartphones are the fucking future. Because I'll tell you right now, these disposable little toys that we have, that we're using right now for cell phones and tablets, these get a new one every 2 years devices are not the future of computing. Not if you actually want to do shit.
Yeah, because you can't really do a lot in the way of, say, CAD or digital design or
Video editing.
of sound editing on these things. I mean, you can do some small bits. There's apps out there. FL Studio has an Apple app and a Android app, but you can't do the full suite of things. You can't do the intensive number crunching type things.
No, I would love to see Pixar try to make a fucking movie with a tablet, with a tablet farm. You see them just putting together 20 million tablets, hooking them all together with USBs. We'll render our movie on this. It'll be fine. It'll be fucking fine.
I now kind of want to see someone build a tablet farm just to see what they can do.
They built a PS2. Yeah, it was the PS2 or PS3.
PS2 and PS3 are real computers.
Yeah, they built a PS3 farm back in the day to make.
They had export restrictions on them.
Yeah, they made supercomputers out of PS3s. You can't do that. This whole idea why Intel is not growing is not that smartphones are the future. It's that Intel has had no reason to compete since AMD's Phenom. AMD's Phenom was the last competitive processor with Intel. Since then,
AMD has just sub-licensed their new chip design to a bunch of people. So it may be they're trying to stage a comeback.
Maybe.
We'll see.
But since Intel has had no reason to innovate, no reason to make faster PCs, no reason to add features, no reason to go beyond when it comes to PCs, because everybody has the best Intel will offer. Intel hasn't made any pioneering strides, so of course people are not upgrading their fucking computers. Intel hasn't given them a reason to.
And realistically, you look at, say, things like the business market, where probably 80% of the people in the world, just go with the US, 80% of the people in the US who use a computer at work use it for Word, Office, PowerPoint, Excel,
Yeah.
So that's and you don't need a massively fast, you may want one, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I go to work and I cry every Monday morning at how slow my computer is.
But you don't really need one. And in that case, smartphones, I guess, if you have an adapter and a USB keyboard, may suffice. Tablets may suffice. But they are not the future of computing. They are not the get things done. They are this is cheap and good enough.
This is you're on the floor of some place where you can't carry around a computer, but you can have a tablet that lets you update inventory stuff.
Yeah, it's cheap but good enough, and cheap but good enough is not. 12,000 workers, all because PCs, and this is not to say people have stopped buying PCs. This is not to say there's no money to be made in making PCs and PC components. This is just to say Intel is not having that constant quarter-to-quarter growth that is apparently the underpinning of our entire fucking economy. Company must grow forever or company bad. Oh, so fucking frustrating.
See what happens. I mean, for tablets and phones to take over, they're going to have to get a lot faster, a lot more memory, and some way to dissipate all that heat.
Yeah, they got to get good. They are not good right now. They got to get good. They are.
Because my phone heats up playing some games.
You know what? Dell did the smartest thing ever when Michael Dell bought the company back from the shareholders.
What's that? Oh, because he's not
beholden
doesn't have to respond to the market.
Nope, doesn't have to care about quarter-to-quarter growth, doesn't have to give a shit about, fucking shareholders. He just makes fucking computers, and nobody got to tell him shit. And all they're concerned about is, are we profitable now?
Yeah.
Are we
They make decent business class computers.
Yep. They ain't got to give a shit, and it's the smartest fucking thing they did.
Not spectacular business class computers, but decent.
Yeah. And you know what? When all the other fucking companies who have shareholders who are worried about keeping up with the fucking quarter to quarter fucking die off because of shareholders, Dell will still be there making fucking computers. Dell smart. So, next up, talking about, this is one of the most frustrating things, ad block. I just had a big old rant on Tumblr a while back, which is still getting shared around about ad blocking is not necessarily about trying to get shit for free. Ad blocking is because we don't trust the people serving us ads.
This is true.
They're intrusive. They're sometimes not safe for work and not appropriate for all environments. They degrade the performance of whatever device they're put on. They eat bandwidth, which if you're on a mobile phone, that costs you money. They're charging you to see their ads, so they're costing you money.
Even if you don't click on it.
And the big one is that ad networks quite often are a vector for malicious software. And this just happened in the Netherlands again. Some of the Netherlands' most popular websites fell victim to a malvertising campaign. There's even a term for it. Malvertising.
I got to look at this and see what do they count as a popular website in the Netherlands?
Well, I can't say it. The Netherlands equivalent to eBay.
Oh, okay.
And the country's seventh most visited website. That being popular, yeah. Other widely visited sites were operated by commercial TV stations and magazines.
Okay, I can see those being popular. I'm just going, how many? It's in other words, how many of these were pot-based popular websites?
Yeah, we will keep blocking ads on devices until ad providers and ad networks prove they can be trustworthy. And the only way to do that, I honestly think, is ad networks have to, in their current form, have to go. They're not trustworthy. There's a term for it. We call it malvertising. Ad networks in their current form have to go because they're not being curated. They're not being checked appropriately. They just shove out whatever they get into whatever people are on their network.
Realistically, what they should do is if I were running an ad network, and this is probably how I would fail at running an ad network, but if I were running an ad network, it would be, you want to be on my ad network? Okay, give me your ad. And we scan it, and we handle the click back, but we check it periodically. It checks and goes, oh, there's malware now. That ad is gone. If there's malware in the ad, you don't get to come in at all. But they don't seem to care. It's going to serve ads.
Well, the problem is, even if they ban someone, and this is oddly same problem that lots of fucking trolls do. If they ban someone from an ad network, that person will just reincorporate as a different entity and then come right back to the ad network. And banning people from an ad network it doesn't work. You have to be able to, before an ad even goes live, you have to be able to sit down, look over that ad, say, does this work or not, before you send it out. They're not doing this. This is a basic 101 thing.
It should be doable. I mean, I couldn't write code that would do it, but I know people smart enough that they could.
Right. Well, even still, they cannot do basic tests. They can't vet these ads before they get sent out to networks. They're failing as gatekeeping.
They can. They don't.
They don't, because it's not profitable to do so. It's cutting
That's why I would fail. That's why I would fail at an ad network. Is because someone would go, "Oh, you're cutting into the profit by doing basic due diligence."
Yeah, which that tells you everything you need to know about it. So that's why people are going to keep blocking ads, because your business behaviors are abhorrent. They're awful.
Yep.
don't give people shit over ad blocking. They're just trying to fucking protect themselves at this point. They're not trying to get shit for free. They're trying to keep you from destroying their computer.
Yeah. Especially, given the number of hospitals that have been hit in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
With various encryption malware, where it encrypts the hospital's computers. And you go, oh, yes, pay us. And they're not even asking for a huge amount of money.
There's like $400 or some shit.
Because if they hit 1,000 people for $400 each, that's probably going to pay out much more effectively than trying to hit 10 people
for 400,000 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. People go, okay, yes, I'll pay that and get the techs in to fix the computers and make sure this doesn't happen again. Hopefully.
Well, lastly tonight, this is one that kind of affects anyone who does any sort of work with video and to some extent audio. News came down that that Apple is discontinuing QuickTime for Windows.
Okay, now, Nash, you have to imagine right now that I have a little paper flag in my hand, and I'm going, yay!
Yeah, QuickTime for Windows, there's a reason Apple's discontinuing it. It's awful and no one likes it. So there's no
kind of like Visual Basic.
Yeah. Going forward, there's not going to be any
Hello,
more
Grady.
support. Where is he? What are you doing? What the fuck, Grady? What are you doing?
He just moved out the middle of the screen and sat there. I said, I have to say hello.
Hi. Hello. She's screaming at me. What's going on?
Oh, I said hello, and he's saying hello back.
Well,
but yes, Apple's getting rid of QuickTime, but there's a lot of things QuickTime is embedded in.
yeah, that vitally embedded in, which is very frustrating, especially for me. Hello, Adobe Premiere user. Adobe is scrambling to untangle QuickTime after Apple throws it over a cliff. Part of the thing with Adobe, they used dependencies on QuickTime, which it had the .move format.
Yeah, it was probably a good idea at the time.
Yeah,
because it saved them from writing a bunch of code. Let me explain what dependencies are really quickly to people. So, say I've got a bunch of code that I need to write.
Yeah.
But someone else over here has done a library that handles some of the necessary functions I need to do. And maybe it's freeware, maybe it's shareware, maybe it's completely proprietary. But they put the hooks out there, the hooks that say, if you feed these inputs in, you get this output.
right.
And so I can use this library as dependencies and call it and do stuff without having to write all that code myself.
Yeah.
And when they update their stuff, I just update my stuff.
Yeah, it's quicker, it's cheaper, and it's easier.
And if you have a proprietary format you need to support, such as .mov,
Right.
and someone else has got the code that produces that, you can just go, I will license this and put it in my product. And I'm done. Unless they say, we're not going to continue that anymore, and there's big flaws in the product.
And
which there are.
Yeah. Not just this, it also means that if, for the moment, until Adobe sorts this out, if you want to keep using Premiere, you run the risk of security exploits that are based on Apple QuickTime, because there will be no more security patches for it.
Yes, because here's the best part of this.
Yeah.
2 new flaws were found in QuickTime, and the company that found them contacted Apple and said, hey, we found these 2 new flaws in QuickTime. And Apple's response was, we don't care, we've stopped supporting QuickTime. And this was apparently the first anyone had heard about. It wasn't, starting in 2016, we're going to discontinue support of QuickTime. No, it was, oh yeah, we discontinued that a long time ago. We didn't tell you? It sucks to be you.
And this is why most businesses don't use Apple. Because they have this mentality of discontinuing support for things that could be considered mission critical and not telling anybody and just leaving businesses, in this case Adobe, but it could be smaller businesses, completely up the fucking creek because they were depending on Apple for this mission critical support, and Apple was just like, fuck it. We don't give a shit. We're innovating. We're moving to the future. Why are you? Because we have millions of dollars invested in this shit. Well, fuck that. We have billions of dollars, so what we say is right.
Yeah. I don't see two gaping holes in the security that allow full remote code execution if a malicious video is. This is the best part. It's if a malicious video is played. So, you at home right now, I would suggest if you have QuickTime installed on your computer that you uninstall it right now.
I can't. Not yet.
You can't. Which means you shouldn't watch any videos on your computer.
At least not QuickTime supported format versions, yes. I'll use VLC to watch video. It doesn't call QuickTime. It uses all internal shit.
You can watch things on YouTube.
Yeah, I can watch shit on YouTube, but I can use VLC. Malicious videos. We never thought that would happen. Now...
Well, I mean, a few years ago, there was malicious thumbnails, where if you had certain image files that presented certain files that presented a thumbnail image of what the file was, thumbnail of a picture, thumbnail of an AutoCAD run, there could be malicious code embedded in the thumbnail. And the best part about this is at work, they pushed out a patch to AutoCAD, because we have a number of CAD people at my job. And they somehow pushed the patch down wrong. They pushed the patch down, but suddenly no one could launch AutoCAD because they weren't the person who pushed the patch, and he'd put his permissions on the executable.
No.
So only Bob, somewhere up at corporate, could run AutoCAD on these local machines. It took a month to fix that. A month.
Bottom line is, if you've got QuickTime on your computer and on Windows, uninstall that shit very quickly. Unless you're like me, in which case you're fine. And like I said, if you still need to watch QuickTime videos, get VLC. It does fucking everything. It's amazing. And it's free.
And hopefully it's not dependent on QuickTime.
So,
it might have a little QuickTime executable in there somewhere.
No, it doesn't. Because VLC is completely open source. So
okay,
they can't. All right. So now that we've done the news, it's time to get on to some of the questions. If you have something you'd like to ask Mike or myself, send it to requests@radiodeadair.com. Put Tech Q&A in the subject line so I know to look for it in my inbox, because it's a big old inbox. Let's go down and see what we have. All right, the first question comes from Phil. My question. Hello, Phil. My question's a basic one. How frequently should a PC case be cleaned out for dust and other dirt sucked up by the computer fan? What's the safest way I can do so at home? This is a two-part bit. We'll cover the first part because the second part's hilarious. The first part, how often should you do it?
It depends on your environment.
Yeah. If you are in a smoke-free environment, you don't have any pets, you have a relatively clean and office space that's away from lots and lots of interaction with other things.
Hardwood floors that you mop regularly.
Yeah. Once a month should be fine. Once a month.
Or less.
Or less.
I know
Maybe
people
even
who've done it far less.
Yeah. I mean, I do once a month because it's a quick and easy thing to do. You take a can of compressed air. You take this stuff. Grady's going to hate this. I don't care. You take this little can of compressed air. And by the way, cats hate this. They just hate the noise of it. They run. They flee. Do that. Blow out the dust. You might want to take it to some place where you can easily sweep the dust away after you've blasted out the dust. Otherwise, you're going to have a room full of dust. And that's the easiest way to do it. The compressed air costs about what? $5 a can, most places?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can buy them in 3-packs, which is useful because you use 1 or 2 on the computer over time, and the third to play with your pets.
Torture, you mean? Grady hates the fucking air can. He despises it. Now, the second part of this question is, My PC has gone a while without physical cleaning, and the fan has started to make a harsh noise. What's a while, Phil? What qualifies in this case? What does a while mean? Because if your computer is starting to make a noise, I think a while means never.
Well, it also depends because it also depends on the fan because some fans, let's face it, are cheaper than others.
Yeah.
And will go south much faster than this. Because you buy a fan for your computer, you see how many hours it's rated for, and if you divide that by 24 to get the number of days, you start sitting there going, "That's not very long."
Yeah.
If you have your computer on 24/7, like let's do.
Yeah. But
and so you look at this and go, "Wow, that's not a lot of time for this $10 fan here." Well, it's a $10 fan. So if it's original fan from the computer, it's probably not that high grade, unless you built it yourself and you bought a specific high grade fan. And we have Nash and I have fans we recommend, but it could just be the fan going south. It could be, yes, crud is built up over time and it really needs a solid cleaning.
Regardless, it's been my experience, if you get to a point where a fan is making noise, cleaning is not going to save it. It's time. That fan is going to... How the fans work, most fans, there are some who have magnetic bearings, which are really kind of neat. They spin because of magnetic electricity. They're neat. They're frictionless. Those are really cool. I like those. They rarely, if ever, make any noise and go bad, and they can be disassembled and cleaned very easily because they're just magnets spinning. Very smart idea. But most fans rely on ball bearings in their construction. And when that grinding sound you hear from a fan means those bearings are shot. And there's no fixing it. Clean it all you want. It's a dying, soon-to-be dead fan. There's nothing you can do. You're going to have to replace it. So you should clean it. If you're in a condition, if you have cats, if you smoke, you really shouldn't smoke. But if you smoke around your computer, if you're in a dusty environment, if you're in a area where you're more likely to get humidity or dust or different varying extremes of weather and conditions, you may want to clean your fans more frequently. In this case, that fan is, even if you clean it, that fan is going to need to be replaced. It may still work, but it's also going to be making that awful grindy noise until it finally gives up and dies. That's the nature of PC cooling at this point. Do you change fans in laptops? Yes.
Yes, I've done it at work.
But you have to get the exact same fan from the manufacturer, which means looking up the part number and all this other stuff. They can be replaced. It's just a pain in the ass and expensive for a piece of shit fan. They'll charge you whatever they want because they're the only people who make that fan for that laptop. And you have to buy it from the manufacturer. Anyway. Let's move on. A while back, you gave me some advice about choosing a printer. My dad had one and a problem came up. I was trying to print a PDF file for him, but the printer is saying we need A4 paper. First of all, what the hell is A4 paper?
Okay, A4 paper is a paper size that is very common. It is the commonest size, I want to say, in the UK and Europe. It is their equivalent of our 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
Now, the way I'm going to have to open Adobe to tell you how to do this because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
I just love someone who asked what is A4 paper has never worked in an office before.
Yeah.
You automatically know, oh, you've never had an office job. Yeah.
Okay, so the way you change it, you have to open the PDF, obviously. When you go to print, and the print thing pops up, come on, I probably opened the wrong PDF here because it's taken forever. You change You probably have to click on printer properties. It's probably where it is.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, hang on, sorry. Page size and handling on the print pop-up thing. There's a size thing, and that's probably where you change it. It's on there. It's actually pretty straightforward. The difference is, unless they can save the PDF, you'll have to do this every time they open the PDF.
Yeah. It's the PDF was designed for A4 to print on A4 paper. You can print it on other paper and it will fit. It'll auto size to fit as needed. You're just going to have to change the printing settings every time you print it out. So you have to.
Okay. So where it is, when your printer comes up, which means when the print dialog comes up, you got the printer thing at the top where you choose your printer. You should probably just have one of these. You might have a print to file or print to PDF. Why you doing print to PDF from a PDF, I don't know, but you could. Click on the properties button next to that. There should be either a setting on the dialog that comes up on one of the tabs of your printer that says how to do this, or there'll be an advanced button and a second dialog will come up. You're looking for something that says paper size, and you're looking for where it says A4 because that's what it's set to for that document. That's what you're looking for. Paper size A4. There'll be a drop down. You hit that. You just select letter.
Yeah.
And that
letter is the standard for American. A4 is a slightly different standard. Just select letter. That's what the printer will understand, and you'll be all good.
Yeah.
Now, trying to communicate this to your dad is another thing entirely. Have you ever tried to get an older relative who doesn't know computers to do anything with a computer, to walk them through it? I honestly think the devil watched people do that and went, that's good. We're using that down here. Guys, set this up immediately. That is, oh God. We're forever. There's a section of hell with a bunch of older people who don't know how to use computers. And for the rest of eternity, you're going to have to walk them through how to open a PowerPoint file, how to send an email, how to log into Facebook forever and ever.
Had someone who was having issues with PowerPoint because they had made their PowerPoint deck 1 page per file. They didn't know you could have multiple pages. Okay, so but what A4 is? A4, it's their equivalent. It's the European/British equivalent of 8.5 by 11. It's about 8.25 by just over 11.5. So it's just off enough that it looks odd to us.
Yeah.
And if you double the size of A4, you get A3. And if you double that, you get A2. And if you double that, you get A1. And if you have A4, you get A5, A6, A7. And now I think there's an A10. I'm not sure. A7, A8, A9. Yeah, it gets small. It's halved and halved. And there's probably some historical reason for why A0 is as big as it is. And it probably has to do with illuminated manuscripts in a monastery somewhere. Because it's Europe. But that's what it is.
We just call it letter and we're done.
Yeah.
We're not we don't give a shit. We're America.
PC load letter. What the hell does
that mean? Next one. Emily writes, me and a friend of mine were thinking of starting a podcast. Do you have any tips or tricks for planning or running a show, technical or otherwise? Well, there's
decent microphone.
Yeah, there's what's basically called these days the Anybody podcast bundle, the basic one, which is Blue Snowball microphone. It's a USB plug-in microphone with really good sound quality for relatively good low price. You can get it for, I think it's down to like $40 these days. It's a good sounding microphone. It runs off a USB port. It's the go-to for, there are better ones, but if you're in it and you don't have a whole lot to spend, the Blue Snowball will get you off the ground. You might want to someday move up to a Blue Yeti or some of the others, but the Blue Snowball, that'll get you started. And it's cheap and it's easy and it's simple. And for actually recording audio, there is a wonderful, completely free program called is Audacity, I believe it's called, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. It's called Audacity. Let me bring it up on the screen here so everybody can see it. Okay. And you can find it at audacityteam.org. Where did I put the
It is not the prettiest looking thing in the world, but it works.
No, it is completely free, available to everybody. Don't cost you a dime. It is sort of the open office of audio recording and editing. It runs on just about everything. And it's quick, simple, easy. There are tons of tutorials for it. If you just want to get in and record audio, mix audio, which Audacity will do, you can have multiple tracks, and you want to have a little intro theme and mix it in with your vocals and all the rest of that stuff. All the neat little tricks they do on podcasts. Audacity has you covered. It's a very powerful, completely free suite of audio tools and recording. It will do what you need it to do. And you can record to an MP3, boom, upload it, you're podcasting, you're set, you're done. Now, later on, as you get, if you really start making an investment in this, get bigger into it, I would recommend a good set of headphones. And by a good set, I mean, don't buy Beats, don't buy fucking Beats. I mean, go to some place like Music 123 or Musician's Friend, one of those websites, or even
or your local Guitar Center.
Yeah, and test. Guitar Center is great because they will sometimes let you test headphones in the store. Plan to spend at least $50 on a set of headphones, because at least, maybe more, but get a set of headphones that you can listen to, that you can hear recording, you can hear how you sound as accurately as possible, so you know how the audience is going to hear. And I know the audio conditions here are not wonderful and perfect, but you know,
or here,
yeah, we make do. We kind of make do, mainly because part of the problem is we're recording via Skype, and that has some issue, which is something you're going to need to take into account if you're doing a podcast with multiple people. Skype and other audio quality, and everybody has got to have a good quality microphone to make it work. So it's not just going to be you with the Blue Snowball. Everybody who's doing it needs at least a Blue Snowball or better. And
I forget what brand I have, but it's better.
Other things for recording. You might want to be careful about your audio recording environment. You would try and deal with reverb and noise, because reverb is the one thing you can't fix. You can try. There are some programs that do it, but reverb is very hard to fix audio-wise. The best way to avoid it is not to record with the reverb, which means whichever room you're recording in, try to minimize the amount of open space, the sound reflective, like blank walls and such. An easy way to do this is to just get a box, put a quilt over it, and set the opening facing you, and put the Blue Snowball right in front of you. And there you go. That will kill any noise reflection around it. You just talk into the box, and you're done. It's cheap, it's easy, and your recordings will sound a whole lot better. If you're just doing audio only, they sound great. Just put it in a box, put a quilt over the box. That will damp down any noise reverberations, and you'll just talk into the box. You'll be fine. It helps.
So you're saying step one, cut a hole in the box.
Well, no, because normally boxes have an opening already. You don't need another hole. You're not going to be fucking the box, Mike. Mike, don't fuck the box. Don't fuck the box, Mike. So those are the cheap and easy tips to help you get started. Hopefully they were of some assistance there.
One other thing, people sometimes overlook this: your microphone cabling. If it's not a straight to USB, even if it is straight to USB, make sure you get a decent cable, because a cheap cable is going to affect your sound more than you would think.
Yeah, I do think the one that comes with it is pretty good, but make sure you
get a monster cable. In fact, I say avoid monster cabling, because they're much more expensive than is necessary.
Yeah. Just use that. I think the Blue Snowball comes with a pretty good USB cord, so I'd use that. Stick with it. Don't lose that cable.
And if you end up saying, okay, I can spend a few more dollars, then you might want to look into things like a preamp and such things.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the one from Ash, because the one from we'll save that other question because it's a little bleh.
In depth.
Yeah, let's go to the one from Ash at the last one. Hi, Nash and Mike. Exactly 2 years ago, I was gifted with a Dell Inspiron 1720 since it could run video games better. It became my main computer. Eventually, the A key stopped working. I took it in for repair, but after getting it back from the shop, the laptop would not shut off. I go to the menu start button, and it would shut down all the way, but immediately would turn on again. The same thing with manually pressing the shutdown, turn on button with the keyboard. Trouble in shooting this issue for a year now, since Dell Inspiron from 2009. It's quite old. I've been considering getting a replacement. What do you guys think?
Okay, so that tells me you took it in for a keyboard. They took out the old keyboard, they put in a new keyboard.
Yeah.
It's a fairly straightforward repair. I've done it at work. My guess is when they did it, they somehow messed up something with the little switch that is the on-off button.
Yeah, okay.
And
Well, there are two things. The first thing I wanted to, and this is not likely, but I want you to check this before we get into the hardware solution. The first thing I want you to do is check to see how Windows is set up. There's a setting in Windows that says choose what the power button does. You go to Start, you go to Control Panel, you go to Power Options. From there, on the right panel, choose what power buttons do. Under the when I press the power button option, make sure it's set to shut down.
not restart.
Right. Make sure check that first. That may be that's a software solution. But if that doesn't fix it, or if it's already set to shut down, here's what Mike is talking about. On your computer, on most laptops, there's what's called the bezel. It's a little strip of plastic that clicks into place over your power button, and also sometimes there are other buttons there like a reset or an audio mute or other various
volume control buttons, a Wi-Fi on-off button maybe sometimes, things like that. And also maybe a function key button that says turn this small section of your keyboard into a keypad until you press it again. But you'll never remember that because you'll go, why the hell is this suddenly putting sevens?
Yeah. The button part, the part you can actually push with your finger, is on that little plastic bezel. Underneath it is part of the motherboard that actually has all the clickable parts. They're little tiny switches. They're teeny tiny. You can't really activate them with your finger. You need a tool to activate them, or the little plastic buttons built into that bezel. What I think happened when this guy reassembled your computer after they put the new keyboard in, and this is what Mike is talking about too. I can get us off off Audacity off the screen. This is what Mike is talking about too. He fucked up. You can embellish on that a bit, Mike. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. It was so these switches can be damaged. There's all sorts of things that can happen. A little piece of dirt or something could have gotten in there. Sometimes that bezel is not just a strip of buttons, though. Sometimes it connects. It is itself all the buttons and connects with a ribbon cable.
Yeah,
into the internals of the computer.
That too.
So, I don't necessarily recommend this if you took it in to get the keyboard replaced before, but you could remove the keyboard again yourself and that strip and see if disconnecting and reconnecting the cables fixes it. It is possible it's just a slightly misaligned cable that you could fix, or popping that, if it's just bezel, popping it up.
Let's have a look at this model just to see.
Hitting with some compressed air in there to blow out anything that might be in there. Realistically, this is just me. Unless you're worried about the life of the computer at this point, it's not a huge deal. I would just set the computer to go to hibernate when you close the lid. Oh, it's rebooted itself? It's turned itself back on? Close the lid, let it go to sleep.
Okay, I've got a picture of this one we can show everybody. Let me send you a copy of that too, so you know what page we're on. I'll send it in the chat up here. All right. This is the Dell Inspiron 1720 on the screen here.
Okay, yeah. So you see in the upper right of the bezel.
Right.
So you got the keyboard, you've got the numeric keypad. Above the numeric keypad, you see that little indentation there, just to the
that little notch, that little tiny notch.
That little notch is probably there for you to slip a flat blade screwdriver in and pop that bezel up.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, that definitely. I've worked with Dells enough to know that's how they do it.
Okay. There's not a notch on the other side. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of reflection there, at least from it could have been. Okay, so that probably will pop that up, and you could see if that button is slightly misaligned.
Right.
And pop it up, take a look, pop it back down.
And in this one,
how they replaced the keyboard. They popped that piece up. There's probably a screw or two under there. They took the keyboard out, put the new one in.
It definitely looks like this is not that the buttons are actually built. The switches are actually built into the motherboard. With Dell, normally the buttons on the bezel are just in order to make the switch work. So in this case, yeah, I pop off that bezel. There are no little parts on it, so it's all one bit.
Carefully.
It's a little plastic. It clicks back into place. They're usually with Dell. There's no screws involved. So just make sure you open the monitor wide because it also covers the monitor hinges. But just carefully pry that out of there, very slowly and carefully. Look underneath it. Make sure there's nothing obstructing it. Make sure the switch looks clean and whatnot. In fact, you can take a good old can of compressed air, blast out underneath there just to be on the safe side, and then put it back in place and see if that makes a difference. If
it so annoys you, just change the laptop close behavior so that it goes to hibernate or goes to sleep mode.
Yeah.
And that way, even if it does power back on, you close the lid, it's off.
Yeah.
It's effectively off.
Yeah. Now, if checking that switch and going underneath it doesn't fix it, that's a motherboard issue, and you're likely just going to have to live with it as a workaround. I wouldn't recommend, if this one is still working good for you, I wouldn't recommend spending $500-$600 on a new system if this one is still working with just this one niggling little issue.
And I will note, by the way, doing a Google search for this issue, so far has found no results of people not having this issue. It's everyone else is having problems turning their computer on. You're having problems turning yours off.
Yeah.
You are the one guy in the world who can get your computer to stay on. These hundreds of results won't turn on.
You're special. Go you. So yeah, but it's an easy. Just get underneath that plastic bezel piece. Have a look around. See if everything's okay. Check your settings in Windows.
Don't try anything else with it.
No, don't fuck with anything else.
Take a look. Blow some air.
Yeah.
And when Nash said, by the way, when he said open the computer wide, basically open the screen as far as it will go without obviously stressing anything. Don't bend it backwards like you would try to break the spine of a book, obviously.
No.
Because when the monitor screen is upright, it's blocking part of that cover from coming up because it's got the hinges on it. When it's down, you just pop up.
Yeah. Once you get into it, you'll see what we mean. But so that will hopefully take care of it for you. But I would not, even if that doesn't fix it, even if neither of our suggestions do anything for it, this is such a tiny detail that you can set it to when you close the lid. That's also one of those options that should be in your power settings. When you close the lid, it'll shut off. This is such a little niggling thing. I can't justify spending $600 to replace it. That's just crazy. I really wouldn't. If it was me, I'd find a cheap ass motherboard replacement on eBay, but that's me. All right. Well, that's all we've got for this week. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, like I said, if you have more questions for me and Mike, send those to request@radio.ar.com. Put tech Q&A in the subject line. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you, everybody watching. We'll be back here next time.